also forms part of the executive of NSFAS. Without any further ado, the chairperson will lead us by reading the statement, then will allow you an opportunity to take questions from the floor and also questions online. Chairperson, you are welcome to read the statement.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I had hoped that fellow board members will be here. They might join us. Thank you very much. I'm no longer having a name. So I'll read the statement from the NSFAS, and we'll take questions as that the Minister has indicated later to then understand more on the work that they've been doing and the work that we have continued to be doing and planning to do in the 2026 year. So allow me to also thank you in advance as media for attending this briefing, as well as our stakeholders present here today. And fellow South Africans, on behalf of the NSFAS board, I wish all of you a prosperous and successful new year. May 2026 dawn with grace. It is my privilege to address you this morning as we embark on another important academic year in the journey to expand access to higher education in our country, South Africa. The purpose of today's media briefing is to announce the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, which is NSFAS as you know it, comprehensive preparations for the 2026 academic year with a focus on disbursements and registration period support for all universities and TVET colleges. Today, I provide clear guidance, and I need to emphasize guidance on the required preparations and outline key timelines and responsibilities for our institutional partners. The topics are about 8 of critical areas that I will address today. First, is that NSFAS application status and statistics. Secondly, I'll deal with submissions of 2025 academic results and processing of continuing student funding decision. And thirdly, NSFAS funding decisions and the funding eligible list. And next, 2026 admissions, registration data, submission and validations, and allowance distribution arrangements for the 2026 academic year, 2026 qualification code updates, the 2026 disbursement schedule, and lastly, we'll deal with appeals processes. The first one being application status and statistics. On behalf of the NSFAS board, I wish to extend our sincere gratitude to all learners, students, and their parents who dedicated their time and effort to submit applications during the NSFAS 2026 funding cycle. Your commitment to pursuing further education and your proactive engagement with our processes are truly commendable. We appreciate the trust you have placed in NSFAS to support your academic journey, and we remain committed to ensuring that every eligible applicant receives the opportunity to access higher education and training. Thank you for partnering with us as we work together to build a brighter future for all. NSFAS is pleased to confirm that we have processed all 2026 funding applications prior to the start of the academic year as committed to by the 31st December 2025. We received a record of 893,847 applications, a testament to the scale and importance of our mission. Of these, 593,981 applications, which makes up 66.45%, were submitted by female applicants, reflecting the ongoing trend of strong female participation in tertiary education. Male applicants accounted for 299,866 applications, which is about 33%. Among these, 520,545 applications are from SASSA beneficiaries, and 2,551 applications are submitted by students with disabilities. To date, 609,653 applications have been approved, with 243 applications currently incomplete due to outstanding documents. About 16,862 applications have been cancelled, and 49,538 have been rejected after a rigorous review process. First-time entry students accounted for 766,232 applications, while 125,157 applications came from senior students. In terms of age distribution, we received about and reviewed 428,632 applications from a range of teenagers, 417,823 from individuals in their 20s, 42,186 from those in their 30s, and 4,585 from individuals in their 40s, and 621 from applicants aged 50 and above. I was not one of the applicants, though. One of the second area, which is very critical as well, this is to our key institutional responsibilities and deadlines to our institutions and our partners. So in order to facilitate smooth registration and timely allowance disbursements, I wish to highlight several responsibilities and deadlines for all universities and TVET colleges. First, the submission of 2025 university academic results. All universities were expected to submit their 2025 academic results no later than the 15th December 2025. Universities in their majority had met this deadline. This submission is critical for NSFAS to verify academic eligibility and release funding statuses for continuing students before registration begins. NSFAS advised all institutions facing challenges to contact their assigned NSFAS institutional servicing administrator for immediate support, and we urge institutions to do that. Secondly, as we guide them, the submission of 2026 admission list, universities are required to upload their 2026 admission list to the NSFAS portal as soon as possible. Early submission enables us to begin student validations and prioritize funding eligibility processing. Continuous updates are expected throughout the admission cycle. Thirdly, funding decisions and funding eligibility list or eligible list. All funding decisions for 2026 were completed by 31st December 2025. The initial release for the first time entering students took place on the 15th December 2025, and universities are now able to access funding list. And the fourth one, which is qualification code updates. This is very critical for our institutions to really take note of. The deadline for qualification code updates was set for the 10th December 2025, and final submission date was the 15th December 2025. Universities were advised to ensure that students are not enrolled in expired qualifications, as NSFAS will not fund such enrollments. The fifth area is the 2026 allowance distribution arrangements and student accommodation. University-led allowance distribution will be extended through 2026. Monthly remittances returns must be submitted to us, NSFAS, detailing students paid, types of allowances, and dates of payment. Equally important is that accommodation allowances for students in private accommodation will be paid directly to accredited providers who must enter into legitimate agreement with student occupants. NSFAS is implementing a transitional framework designed to facilitate the shift towards a more centralized, transparent, and student-focused accommodation system. In alignment with this initiative, all higher education institution and private accommodation providers are required to adopt the new framework to ensure a seamless process for the allocation and management of accommodation for both new entrants and returning students. As part of this transition, all accommodation dates, including opening, closing, move-in, and move-out periods, will be intrinsically aligned with the academic calendar to prevent students from being stranded at any point during the academic year. We are upgrading the accommodation portal to enable students to apply for accommodation, track their application status, accept offers, and log maintenance issues, all within a single platform. Furthermore, the portal will be integrated with institutional student management system to facilitate automatic verification of student registration and NSFAS eligibility. This is very critical. In addition, we will introduce a robust data-driven reporting and reconciliation process, ensuring clear and timely reconciliation between NSFAS and accommodation providers. This will guarantee prompt payment to providers, thereby encouraging their continued participation in the scheme. The upgraded system will generate monthly occupancy and payment reports directly from central platform. We will also explore the implementation of the in-house accommodation payment functionality, transferring the payment process from portal providers directly to NSFAS. These enhancements will strengthen financial management and improve the reconciliation of funds disbursed to accommodation providers and students, eliminating the need for third-party payment processing and ensuring greater efficiency and accountability. On the 2026 upfront payment, on the 1st of February 2026, NSFAS will issue an upfront payment covering the full book allowance, 1 month of meal, accommodation, personal care, and travel allowances. In this regard, universities will be responsible for ensuring correct disbursement to eligible students. The submission of 2026 registration data. The NSFAS registration upload portal opened on the 5th January 2026. Universities are strongly encouraged to submit complete and accurate registration data early. It must be noted that disbursement will be strictly based on data accuracy and completeness. Our support that we'll be offering during the registration period. To further support institutions, we will deploy servicing administrators to all 26 universities and all 50 TVET colleges from the 13th January 2026 to 31st March 2026. Graduate interns will work alongside servicing administrators, and deployment schedules will be communicated directly to the institutions. The TVET college payments and processing. To support effective cash flow at the commencement of the 2026 academic year, we will advance tuition upfront payments to the TVET colleges on the 31st January 2026. The upfront payment will be calculated at 20% of each college 25th tuition allocation. All subsequent tuition payments will be processed based on the submission of valid and verified registration data. The My NSFAS Manager portal is now open for 2026 registration data uploads. Beneficiaries at TVET colleges will continue to receive their allowances directly into their personal bank accounts. Colleges are required to ensure that students capture and verify their banking details accurately on the NSFAS portal, as payments will not be made to third-party or institutional accounts. NSFAS has communicated a comprehensive schedule to TVET colleges detailing all tuition and allowance payment dates, as well as registration, upload, and cut-off deadlines for the 2026 academic cycle. It is essential that colleges submit complete and up-to-date student registration data, including any changes relating to cancellation, dropouts, deregistration, and other enrollment updates by the specified deadlines. Registration and student status updates must be managed as a continuous monthly process to ensure accurate funding administration, and to prevent incorrect payments or further recoveries. This is very, very important. I need to emphasize this because we need to prevent incorrect payments because they take away the benefit from an eligible and qualifying student. Further, 2026 registration template has been enhanced to allow colleges to indicate students' accommodation types and participation in occupational programs, thereby streamlining verification processes and the distribution of funds. Any changes to student registration data must be made only during the designated adjustment periods, which will be announced by us and are subject to budget availability. And lastly, in terms of those 8 areas that I have indicated that we'll address are the appeal processes. NSFAS has streamlined the appeals processes for 2026. The appeals window opens immediately as application outcomes are communicated, with the final deadline for appeals set for 14th January 2026. Outcomes will be communicated by the 16th February 2026. Students must submit all supporting documents within 30 days of their outcome notification. We have an academic deadline timetable that we have set, a comprehensive timetable for the year, which is as follows. To the matriculation class, I will not read the timetable, right, CEO? So on behalf of NSFAS, I extend my heartfelt congratulations on reaching this significant milestone in your education journey. I'm addressing the students, the matriculants, because they are waiting for their results, I think 12th February or January this year. They will receive their result. As you prepare to embark on the next phase of higher education and training, NSFAS stands ready to support you in the pursuit of your aspiration. May you take pride in your achievements, have confidence in your abilities, and embrace the opportunities that lie ahead with enthusiasm. We look forward to welcoming many of you as you continue your academic journey and strive towards a brighter and promising future. Best wishes for your continued success. In conclusion and in appreciation and closing, we remain steadfast in our commitment to expanding access to higher education and supporting our students in achieving their academic aspiration. The progress outlined today reflects the collaborative efforts of our institution, government department, student organization, and other stakeholders. We will continue to engage all our critical stakeholders during this critical period to ensure that no one is left behind. I wish to thank the Honorable Minister of Higher Education and Training, Mr. Buti Manamela, the Deputy Ministers, Dr. Nomusa Ncube-Dube and Dr. Mimi Gondwe, the Director General, Dr. Nkosinathi Sishi, and all Deputy Directors General for their unwavering leadership and guidance. My gratitude also goes to the university and college leadership, NSFAS staff, student representative councils, SA and SAFETA, accredited accommodation providers, SASA, the DBE, SARS, Department of Home Affairs, and all partners and stakeholders for their dedication and support. Your continued collaboration is essential to the success of our students and the future of our country. Let us continue to work together to uphold accountability, improve efficiency, and provide every eligible student with the support they require to succeed. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. In your other cap, we would have been singing now after this address, Chair. Unfortunately, in this environment, it's followed by questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Colleagues, this is that moment where you are given an opportunity to ask clarity-seeking questions to the chairperson, who will be assisted by the CEO and the acting CIO. Please identify yourself, the media organization you're coming from, and the question. Also, we welcome colleagues who are joining us online. We will also be taking your questions on those platforms. Thank you. Let me start here. By show of hand, you'll be recognized. It's very clear, colleagues. Yeah, no, the chair was very clear. All right, there's a hand on my left. Yeah, it will be number 1. Okay, we good. Ish, can I check online? If no questions online, I see. Do you still want to come, or you are good? No, I am here. Okay. All right. Let me recognize you first, ma'am. Yes, please.
From ENCA. To, I think, the acting board chair, but maybe the top table in general. First question is to the acting chair. What have you picked up in your few weeks as the acting board chair that seems to cause a lot of upheaval, uncertainty within the NSFAS environment? It is something, NSFAS as a whole, that has also been flagged by the minister, just in terms of concerns around what has been going on there over the past few years. Linking to that, I believe all 3 at the top table are in acting capacities at the moment. Just talk to us about the stability of NSFAS as well. Again, given what we have seen over the past few years, is it not concerning that there are no permanent positions? I'm sure there are processes around that, but just given the importance of NSFAS, that we are seeing this sort of instability that keeps happening. And also, the importance, talk to us please about the importance of NSFAS versus the administrative sort of instability that we do keep seeing again over the past few years. And then I would like to return for a second round of questions, please.
Okay. All right.
Good morning. I'm Patricia Pasaki from the SABC. Last year we saw, a lot of back and forth in terms of the issues around the private service providers for accommodation. That left a lot of students anxious, and the service providers. Are these issues sorted out? And what will be done differently this year to make sure that we don't see a repeat of that drama and some students, being anxious that they won't have accommodation and just all that drama that played out that we saw last year? Is there a strong mechanism that's put in place to prevent a repeat?
Okay, thanks, Patricia. All right, let's take those 2 questions. Chair, the first one, I think you might have heard.
I didn't hear.
Okay.
I had.
Okay.
I wanted you to sing. No, thanks for the question. I don't know how long have I been there. What's it? 1 month?
3 months. Yeah.
Me as the acting chair. It's 1 month, 10th of November. Okay. So, at a particular point in my life, I was the principal of a school, so I have always learned to observe trends and behaviors, I think. So, what I have picked up there, and I think now is on the positive, is that the board that has been appointed has been able, in a very short period of time, to develop policies and adopt those particular policies in order to stabilize NSFAS. And I can just mention few of those particular committees that were required in order for us to be able to stabilize NSFAS. For example, the Audit and Risk Committee has been established and is functional and is very efficient in order to ensure that it addresses things that has happened in the past. For example, you can call legacy issues that are now in the SIU being investigated, and work is being done around that area and so forth. And I need to appreciate the work that the board has done, and moving forward to ensure that we address some of the things that have been raised by the Auditor General The Audit and Risk Committee assist with that responsibility, and they are addressing those areas that were really found in 2017, 2014, and so forth, are being addressed. And that's what I've picked up, that you are working with men and women who are prepared to sacrifice and work for the people of our country. And that, to me, is very encouraging as an acting or interim chair of the board. That is what I have picked up. I picked up that the management of NSFAS really requires support for them to be able to do their work. They are willing and they are working. I've worked with them the entire December now. Some of them have not even gone on holidays because they have a troubleshooting team that has to work in ensuring that by the 15th of December, the students are able to, the applicants are able to receive, the outcome or statuses that is required. And I think that is one of the areas that I have been able to pick up very quickly, that there is willingness to work and the board is willing to do the work that needs to. Yes, of course, we're still having instability in terms of acting positions and so forth. This is a result of, a prolonged process of administration, because where the board is absent, it's not easy for one person to act as the board and act as a CEO and act as everything. We need to appreciate the fact that a number of things will not be in place because of that. For example, there will be weekend internal controls that you need to put in place because you don't have an HRRC committee, you don't have an ethics committee, and a social responsibility committee, and so forth. So in the absence of those things, you are going to have to struggle to ensure that you establish a culture which is ethical and people are willing to work. And that is what we have to address now. We need to cultivate and develop an ethical culture in NSFAS, and the leadership of NSFAS is really working with the board to ensuring that we are able to cultivate that. It's not going to be a one-day issue. Cultivating a culture which is ethical, it takes longer, but with an attitude which is positive, displayed by the management, I think that we are on the right track to ensuring that everyone who is employed to work for 8 hours works for 8 hours, or if not 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, by giving their time to the people of our country. And that is what I think it's happening. So we are in the process of ensuring that positions are filled. The HRRC committee on behalf of the board, as well as the management, is responsible for some of this particular thing, because we need to ensure that we do not blur the lines of governance and administration. The acting CEO is working very hard with the C-suites that is there to ensure that those positions that have been vacant are really filled, and we hope and that we can be supported, that we can have cooperations of our stakeholders in ensuring that the CEO is able to complete that particular process, whilst the board is also completing some of the processes that are there. Some of the things that I have picked up, obviously, are in the SIU, and obviously they're doing their work, working with legal people to ensure that we are able to get out of some of this problematic situation. I will leave the rest to the acting CEO. I have indicated that we have got a transitional arrangement in terms of accommodation to avoid what has happened in the past, especially last year, where the students were stranded, frustrated, and as you have indicated, really anxious. We have an arrangement that is there, but the CEO is going to give full details around that particular area. I'm not sure if I have covered the area in terms of its ability. I can stand here and talk the whole day, but we are doing work. And so that's why you have not seen me in the media and so forth, because I said to the CEO, we want to do the work so that by the 15th of December, we are able to say to the people of our country, this is the work that we've been doing, and this is what we're planning to do. So our comprehensive program for 2026 is to ensure that everything is seamless in terms of registration. Hence, we are providing our administrators who will be based in our institution to help us to smooth up the registration period processes for our students, but also provide guidance and support for our students, especially the first entrance in higher education.
Okay, thank you very much. And let me also take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy new year and a blessed and prosperous 2026. I think there's two questions which I'll respond to. The first question is about whether NSFAS's importance to the country versus the administrative challenges that it's faced over a prolonged period of time. I mean, I'll give you a couple of statistics that I think support the importance of NSFAS to the country. We have, over the years, seen more than 5.5 million beneficiaries pass through the scheme in its different differentiations, whether it was a loan scheme or bursary-based fund. And of those beneficiaries, we know that being a graduate in South Africa is quite critical to you achieving social mobility. NSFAS graduates are innovators, they're entrepreneurs, they're medical doctors, they are chartered accountants, and they're making meaningful contributions not only in this country but around the world. Yeah, I think in addition to that, what we see is that 70% of NSFAS beneficiaries come from households that were previously dependent on social grants. Yeah. And that just tells you that there's a clear intersection between how basic education policy, social policy, and higher education policy is working in the country. Because if we can take the poorest households and we can give them access to both basic and higher education, that is really what helps us to achieve transformation in the country. The last one I'll give is that today 60% of government chief directors, DDGs and DGs were previously funded by NSFAS. Yeah. And that again just tells you the trajectory of the fund and its potential impact that it can have on the country. I know there are many questions about whether NSFAS should exist and whether we should just allow universities to manage the funds. We like to be revisionist about history in South Africa. There was no perfection when the funds were managed directly by universities. In fact, universities would not have to have returned billions of rands in funds back to NSFAS if they were managing the funds appropriately. And we strongly believe that the support for a centralized system that achieves funding decisions, placement, but not only access, but also performance and graduation of students is critical for the development of the country. Of course, that doesn't go away from the fact that it has been a highly unstable organization with deep administrative challenges, some of which are not going to be resolved in a short space of time. But the reason we're here today in the first week of January is because we are taking steps to improve our effectiveness and our efficiency, our planning and our communication to the sector to ensure that we have a stable start to the academic year. There are some things that are not within NSFAS's control, but we make a commitment that whatever is within our control, we will take detailed steps to be able to achieve it. We'll be transparent, we'll be agile, and we'll be flexible in executing in our duties. On the second question related to accommodation, yes, of course, we have faced a number of challenges with student accommodation over the last number of years. I think it's important to contextualize student accommodation. So student accommodation operates in a hybrid format. There will continue to be institutions who will manage student accommodation on their own, and we will leave it to them and will continue to exercise oversight on them to be able to execute diligently on the function of student accommodation. Where NSFAS manages student accommodation, we will be taking steps to manage that process effectively. The first step was concluding our funding decisions to ensure that we understand who our funding list is for 2026. Of course, if you're still making funding decisions during the registration period, students don't know whether they should be in accommodation or not be in accommodation. So a big step is ensuring that funding decisions are made. Once we have a NSFAS funded student, the second step is confirming whether they qualify for the transport allowance or whether they qualify for the accommodation allowance. We intend to deploy full-time capacity to institutions of higher learning, which will work with financial aid officers in the placement of students. And one of the things we've set out as a key performance indicator for ourselves is then within 4 to 8 hours of a student arriving on campus, if they qualify to accommodation provider. So we've laid out a very clear plan and process for how we would like to execute on accommodation this year to prevent instances of what we may have seen in the past. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chair and CEO. Let's now go online, Bata.
Thank you. We have a question from 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢𝐻. Can you provide figures for the numbers of students who have applied for loans and the numbers approved and declined? That is all. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have follow-up questions from? Okay, you can go first, and then we'll take it from there.
I'm phoning something from ENCA again. Chair, just for clarity, I think you said that there were some institutions that didn't submit their academic results by the 15th of December. I don't know if you're able to tell us which or who are the universities are, but also do you understand why this wasn't done? Again, given the time of the year, the importance of all of this, does it not seem a bit casual, I guess, that there are universities that haven't done this? And then just on the whole accommodation and all the issues that were happening last year, just to follow up on Patricia's question, do you see a year when we don't get to the end of the year, I think this is for the CEO, where we are having these problems, and what would it take to get to that point where we're not getting to November, December or October and people are still saying there's such and such an issue?
Okay. Chair, would you want to... Or maybe let's start with the CEO and then the chair.
Thanks very much. So I'll start with a question from Business Day on the loans. We've not process on loans. We intend concluding it during this week, and once we have those figures, we'll release it via a statement as well. So we'll provide that feedback. As it relates to when will the challenges end, I think 2026 needs to be a much more efficient and effective year, right? And I think we've made a very clear commitment that we want the mechanisms and the processes to function effectively this year, and we are willing to be held accountable to that for the academic year. I would really like to get to the end of 2026 and not see unpaid accommodation providers, but also on a monthly basis for the system to function very effectively. And we intend to release every month statistics of payments and disbursements of NSFAS. I think the more broader question that we will help to answer during the course of 2026, but is not ours in isolation to answer, is about the longer term sustainability of NSFAS and the higher education sector. We've put in place short-term measures to ensure a stable 2026. However, we know there is a rising demand for higher education in the country, and I think if we revisit the cabinet statement that was issued towards the end of last year, we will be embarking on a consultation process throughout 2026 on a revised funding and financing model for the higher education sector. And I think inputs and consultations on that become critically important as we look at what is the long-term sustainability for higher education, and that includes NSFAS amongst other things. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you very much, CEO. I believe that the CEO has captured all the three questions that were asked and re-emphasized the issues of student accommodation and the model that we are doing. I want to request that colleagues engage us on the framework that we have made available on student accommodation in terms of the processes, so that you understand how NSFAS will be handling student accommodation and the engagements that are taking place within the sector on student accommodation. But it is also important to indicate that student accommodation is not only an NSFAS issue, and I think the CEO has explained that institutions as well have a role to play in placing students. However, we are working collectively, and hence we are providing the guidance, the framework, using the policy that has been provided by the Department of Higher Education and Training. And I know that in this session you have not asked a question regarding the appeal, but we want to clarify one issue relating to how the issues of appeals have been handled. A student gets an opportunity to appeal, colleagues, immediately when they get rejected. So the 30-day period kicks in immediately at that particular time, and that information gets sent to the student. And as soon as the 30-day period lapses, the appeals button disappears. So in other words, you would not be able to appeal beyond the 30-day period. And all students have been given that opportunity for them to make or to appeal systematically. So it's an automated system, and that's how it works. So I think we need to clarify that as well, because we are getting asked about it every year on how the appeals work. Do we still have any other questions, Ish, Bata? Okay, Prega?
Regarding the issue of the loan scheme, I was just wondering out of interest, whether we could be provided with the number of applicants, from the missing middle. I mean, the number who applied for the loan last year, 2025, and how many of these were granted. The other question is around the 49,000 applicants who were rejected, or applications. Could we perhaps have a reason, or some reasons as to why these applications were rejected? And finally, the budget for this year, 2026, as compared to 2025, for bursaries and loans, has that increased, or is it the same? Okay, thanks.
Thank you for your... Any colleagues, this is the final round. No other question? CEO?
Yeah, thanks very much, Prega, for those questions. We received about 12,000 loan applications. As we indicated to the previous question, we'll be releasing the loan outcomes in this coming week, and we will issue a statement on the number of approved applications for the Missing Middle Loan Fund. As it relates to the budget for 2026, we are still engaged in the budget process with National Treasury. Of course, the budget is published, I think, in the third week of February after the State of the Nation address, and we'll be able to give a sense of what our final budget numbers are for the 2026 academic year. What I would like to say, though, is that NSFAS does have sufficient funding to make the upfront payments to institutions for February and March for what is the remaining of this financial year, but basically the start of the 2026 academic year. Sorry, I think you had one more question. No, was that it? Okay.
The question was around the 49,000.
Oh yes, rejected. So those 49,000 would be solely rejected on the basis of household income exceeding 350,000. So those would have been first-time entering students, which would have applied but did not meet the financial eligibility criteria. Of course, we've got two categories of students: first-time entering and continuing students. Continuing students, which would have not met the academic progression criteria, would have been the ones who would not continue to receive funding from NSFAS.
I see, CEO, your response has sparked another question. Okay, sure. Yeah.
Those that were rejected based on not qualifying by household income, can they then apply for the missing middle loan application? And then maybe can we just get a general comment on the applications for the missing middle loan application and how that has gone for you?
Okay.
And the future of it?
Yeah. Thanks. I think that's an important question. So we do offer ththose students an opportunity to be transferred to a loan application. Of course, many of them want to follow the appeals process and they would like to submit their IT34s from SARS. But if not, we do transfer them to a possible loan application. I think, of course, the issue of the missing middle has been quite debated in South Africa's context, right? I think when it was introduced, I must say, from our perspective, the uptake has been relatively low in terms of what the problems seem to have been framed versus the uptake on the loan applications. I mean, if you just look at the statistics, 12,000 loan applications versus 800 or close to 900,000 bursary applications. Yeah. So the uptake does seem to be low. I think there is work to be done in marketing the Missing Middle Loan Fund. I think also that it's important that we look at access from a broad point of view in South Africa. You know, I come across instances where people exceed the household income category, but they'll say to me that they have 3 children at university at the same time, and it's just unaffordable for them here. And I think the way we look at funding for higher education becomes important in terms of the mix of funding options that are available here. You know, another instance that we continuously pick up is that students who exceed the N+ rule, so no longer qualify for funding from NSFAS, but are very close to completing their studies. And we do believe that there may be need to introduce some sort of a policy mechanism in the form of a possible loan to enable them to complete their studies. Yeah. So in our revised and funding model that we're looking at, we are looking at those permutations, and we will release those for consultation during the course of 2026.
Thank you very much, CEO. Colleagues, we will definitely communicate on the loan outcomes and be as comprehensive as possible in terms of explaining the processes and how the decisions were made in as far as the loan system is concerned. And I think, as the CEO is saying, we still need to do more on this, including educating the public on how the loan system works. We have done it since 2024 applications, and we're still having a low number of applications that we are receiving. But we hope that as we go on with this process, we'll get more and more uptake of our loan system. Thank you very much. Ish, I see you have do you have a question online? We don't have. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our media briefing. We have shared the statement read by the chair. It is also accessible from the GCIS website, social media platforms, and that of NSFAS and the Department of Higher Education and Training. And then we'll keep you posted, as there's still a lot of communication that NSFAS will be doing throughout this period. Thank you very much for coming. By our IT tech, Mr. Melula, who also forms part of the executive of NSFAS. Without any further ado, the chairperson will lead us by reading the statement, then will allow you an opportunity to take questions from the floor and also questions online. Chairperson, you are welcome to read the statement.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I had hoped that fellow board members will be here. They might join us. Thank you very much. I'm no longer having a name. So I'll read the statement from the NSFAS, and we'll take questions as that the Minister has indicated later to then understand more on the work that they've been doing and the work that we are continuing to be doing and planning to do in the 2026 year.